So how can you do it? What are the activities that you could do that would help you to feel good about yourself? I've got a friend here today that's going to help us figure that out. I love that you're watching Live on Purpose TV because that's one of the best ways to feel good about yourself. At least I hope you're getting some feel good from all of this. Okay. I've invited my friend Brett Williams, this is Brett, to join us here today. Brett is a marriage and family therapist. He's been practicing therapy, counseling, helping people to have a more excellent life now for 25 years or so. Yeah. So you've got some experience doing this.
A little bit.
And as I was thinking about what are some of the activities that we can do to help us feel good about ourselves on a more consistent basis, and you came to mind. So
awesome. Great.
Can you address that a little bit?
Yeah.
I thought you could. Awesome. What comes to your mind first when I said what activities will help you to feel better about yourself?
One of the favorite things people do is affirmations. People love affirmations because they're super easy. You could be in your car, you could be at home, you could be anywhere and practice an affirmation. The only trouble with an affirmation, you know what trouble is?
I can probably guess.
They don't work.
Right.
Small.
Not the way most people practice them.
Yeah.
Because traditionally it's like, well, I'm awesome. You know, you say these affirmations.
My life is amazing.
My life rocks. And it feels like, and as soon as you do that, you got a fight on your hands.
Yeah.
Inside of your own mind. Right?
Because you're arguing with yourself. You're trying to convince yourself. Now, if you already believe it a little bit, it's easy. But then you don't need the affirmation. It's the people that don't believe my life is amazing or things are great that need the affirmation. So what we're going to do today is kind of like the affirmation. We call it a consideration.
Okay.
Now, consideration takes the best of affirmation and the best of a meditation and creates a, kind of this powerful exercise.
It's like a possibility. We're creating a new possibility.
Right.
So your mind is more open to it.
Absolutely. Nice. The way things work in your brain is that neurons that fire together wire together. Neurons that fire together wire together.
Nice.
And so what we want to do is get an idea in your head that you can play with. And the longer you can play with this idea, the stronger the idea grows. It gets a momentum to it.
Right.
And if I have an idea and then I'm fighting with it, it's not going to grow. So consideration allows us to play with an idea for a long time. And by playing with the idea for a long time, it helps that idea grow. It's like planting a seed. We want it to grow.
And you're creating, I've done another video or a couple of videos where I reference neural pathways.
Yes.
And this is the way your brain really, this is a physiological thing that happens. When you say neurons that fire together, wire together, your brain will create shortcuts, cruise control, autopilot for anything that is repeated and meaningful. So as you create this new consideration, what would it sound like?
So let's start with an affirmation. A basic affirmation would be, I am enough, right? That would kind of be a basic affirmation.
Right, that's kind of old school.
I am enough. I am enough. And we just kind of chant that.
Say it in the mirror.
Yeah, say it in the mirror, write it, put it on a sticky note. What would happen if we change that affirmation to a consideration of, what if I was enough? What if I was? Now, I'm not saying I am, because I don't want to get in a fight with myself. I don't want to argue with myself.
That was my observation, Brett. I'm not fighting with that.
I'm just playing with the idea.
Right.
And as
considering it.
I'm just considering this idea.
Nice.
So the first day, what I'll typically do is I'll just think of the words. And that helps the idea go through my left neocortex. What if I was good enough? Second day, what I want to do is I want to picture, what would that look like if I was good enough? What would my day look like?
Okay, so you're bringing some imagery into it.
Exactly. I want to create some pictures.
Picturing what it's going to be.
To have a good day, or have a good enough day. Third day, what I do is I ask myself, what would it feel like if I was good enough? There I want to bring in my limbic system. Okay. I want to stimulate my emotional mind and just feel the energy around that. What would it feel like to be good enough? The last, well, not even the last day, but
powerful.
The next day.
Can I just acknowledge this before you?
Okay.
Because there's more. There's more.
Yeah, there's more.
What Brett is laying out for you here is completely consistent with everything that we've learned about psychology
Right.
and how our mind creates. Do you remember one of the first videos that I put out when we launched this daily content was how to be positive no matter what? You can link to it right up there in that corner of the box. In that video, we talked about two processes, evaluation and creation.
Good.
Okay, and you know about this because I've shared it with you, Brett. Evaluation of what it is, and then creation of what is to be. What Brett's been sharing with you here today is so consistent with the way our mind allows us to create something that didn't even exist before. And it's natural for us to feel a little bit of resistance, to kind of argue with ourselves sometimes about, well, I don't know if that's possible. The way you're setting it up is actually putting our mind in a position to be open and receive that as a possibility,
Right.
which we can then move forward and create.
Right. We've changed the question in your head from, is that true? That's analysis.
Right.
And analysis always creates paralysis. So you ain't going anywhere on that one. We're changing
It's
it.
easy to argue this ain't true.
Yeah, is this true?
Right.
We're changing the question to, what if this was true?
What if it was?
What if it was? Now, the next day is so important because the next day, what I want to do is get that thought out of my head and into my body, into my neurology.
Okay.
And so the next day, I'll ask myself, well, what if I was good enough? What would that be like? How would I act? What would my body language be? What would my shoulders do? How would I breathe? How would I talk to people?
How would I handle that phone call? How would I deal with my
If I felt good enough, what would I do? What would what the actions, the behaviors behind that be? And as I start to act as if I'm good enough, that again reinforces the neural pathways.
And that word act can sometimes trip people up. You've heard the fake it till you make it kind of thing. I'm not a huge fan of that because I don't think it's that kind of acting.
But I'm putting
think
it in
it's-
that whole context of the brain.
Right, and putting it into a physical manifestation of an idea.
Exactly.
And this is when thoughts become things.
Right.
This is where it actually starts to show up in our life.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. So let me see if I've got the days straight. So on day one,
I want to consider.
what if this were true?
Mm-hmm.
On day two, we're going to go to some imagery. What would it look like if it were true?
Right.
Inviting yourself to actually start imagining that.
Yeah.
Day three, what would it feel like? And you know what? On this one, just pretend for a minute that you actually believe it and then see what that might feel like. Mm-hmm. And you're like, well, I don't believe it. Yeah, right. What if you did? How would it feel if you really believed it? If you knew that it was
Right.
a possibility. So we're going to get into the feeling. And then I love this because it can be in your heart and in your head all day long, but until it gets in your shoes and starts walking around in your life, it doesn't really change anything. So that fourth step is, how would I show up?
What would I act like? Yeah.
What would I do differently? How would I handle that specific situation if this were true, if I really were good enough?
I know what my body language looks like when I'm in a bad day.
Right.
What would my body language
Kinda
be if
slumped
I was
over.
in a good day?
If you really owned it.
Yeah. What would that be like?
And you feel yourself starting to take that on.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. All right, so you got it from the master himself. Brett Williams here today, author, powerful therapist. He's your family shrink. And this might have surprised you, but we're telling you today, 2 shrinks in front of the camera. Forget about affirmations.
That's right.
They don't work.
Use a consideration.
That's going to change the game. Thanks, Brett.
Thank you.
That was awesome. Wow, thanks, Brett. That changes the game. Not affirmations, considerations. Share that with someone today.